Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and it's ladies' night. The boys are not here, and I'm so glad my friend Alicia Cooper is able to join us. How are you, Alicia?
I'm good, Sybil. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you on land.
You too.
Last time we saw each other, kind of going like this a lot on
Yes.
the Tom Joyner cruise. But I'm glad to see you. Thank you for making yourself available to join us. And really glad that this worked out. And young Coy, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty great. How are you, Sybil? And how are you, Alicia?
I'm good, Coy. How are you?
Doing pretty good.
All right.
Let us talk a little bit today. I managed to go outside for a little bit. How's the weather in Atlanta? Coy? I heard that it's quite balmy almost.
Yeah, it was really cold today to me. And over the weekend we got a lot of rain. I was out of town in South Carolina for about a day and a half. So it was a little bit more warm up that way, which is very surprising to me. I thought it would get colder as we went up north. But when I got back, I definitely felt the cold air. It was cold this morning. It was still pretty cold when I got off of work. It's not freezing or anything like that.
I was
The
gonna say,
skies
what's
are pretty
cold?
clear.
What's
To
cold?
me, when it starts hitting the 30s, when it starts hitting the lower 40s, that's cold to me. I can't. And I know that's saying something because you're probably used to weather in the teens and the
Well,
negatives and
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. You need some Jussie Smollett bones. It ain't,
Yeah.
never, it ain't never too cold for him. You go out to for a Subway sandwich and a
Right,
pole
right,
short
and get knocked up by some Nigerians there on a cold below zero Sunday night. Yeah, nothing
right.
like it. Well, Alicia, we were doing weather last week, and you're in Los Angeles, right?
Yes.
Did you have any of the rain that they had to the south, like in San Diego, with all the flooding and stuff?
Not to that extent, but I was away. I was on a cruise, so I missed a lot of it. But no, they didn't have the rain in Southern California like they did in San Diego. San Diego was like a
That's
tsunami.
crazy. It
Yeah,
was. They
yes.
got 3 months of rain, 3 months worth of rain, what they normally get in 3 months in southern San Diego, that they normally get that they got in 6 hours. It's
Yeah, yeah,
crazy. It's
yeah. I
absolutely
have a
crazy.
friend who lives out there, and she was sending me video from her patio. I was like, "This is
Yeah.
crazy."
And people lost power and everything else because of the craziness of the weather. But
Mm.
we've been very lucky. Today it was in the 60s, and so I was outside walking, and it was I was like, this is crazy. January, and just a couple weeks ago, we were like, oh, below zero. We had the water running in our taps and stuff, so the
Yeah,
pipes wouldn't freeze.
Right.
yeah.
And now it's like they were predicting that it was going to get up to the 70s. I don't know if it did today, but it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. This is crazy. I tell you, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So this is It's Simple, and this is where we talk about the day's events as well as our What You Need to Know newsletter. If you don't subscribe to the What You Need to Know newsletter, I wish you would. It is our effort to super serve the African American community to inform and empower with the stories that we take and then present to you. Coy Malone is our social justice contributor. We have a number of other youngins who are also participating. Cameron Riley is also in politics. His younger sister, Quinn Riley, is our LGBTQ plus contributor, and the young Aprilette Russell is our mental health and wellness contributor. And so it is absolutely free, as I said. So please go to SybilWilkes.com. Give us your name and your email address, and we'll have it in your email box every Monday through Friday morning. Coy, let's start with you and as our social justice contributor, writing about another Black man on death row waiting for justice.
Yes, this is about 37-year-old Terry Pritchford, who was charged with killing a Grenada County, Mississippi store owner when he was 18 years old. However, this death penalty may get overturned by a district judge because the prosecutor was found to have blocked black jurors from the courtroom. So
This
the
is in
crime,
the 2000s,
yes, this happened in
not in the
2004.
1950s or 60s or even, God
Correct.
forbid, in the 70s.
Well, keyword Mississippi, because we've seen a lot of different stories going on in Mississippi lately. So I think that with the attention going on to the Hinds County jail penal grave, where they found the 216 bodies,
And
I
didn't
think that's
identify-
starting to, right, and they can't identify them. So now I think that this is putting more light onto the justice system in Mississippi to kind of look into, well, what's been going on here that we've been missing. So what happened with this young man in 2004, he and his friend Curtis Flowers opened fire inside of a grocery store, and the bullets were traced back to a gun that was later recovered from Pitchford's vehicle. So he later confessed his role to the crime.
To shooting inside the store.
Yes, but it wasn't said that he was the person that actually shot, the store owner. However, he confessed his role, and he was immediately sentenced to death row. The Supreme Court upheld his conviction in 2010. And then we have District Judge Michael P. Mills that said former District Attorney Doug Evans had a history of sorting Black people from the jury pool. And in addition to this, Pitchford's attorneys never got the chance to challenge the state's decision on the jury pools that happened. So according to a new ruling, Flowers and Pitchford were both prosecuted by the same district attorney, and the Mississippi Supreme State Court reversed each of Flowers' convictions because of the numerous instances of prosecutorial misconduct, including a Batson violation when the prosecutor actually struck a Black juror and seated a different juror.
Not physically struck him. He struck him from the rolls.
Yes.
And taking him out. Okay.
Yes, and then inserted another juror. And then because he also discriminated against Black prospective jurors during jury selection. So in Pitchford's case, the jury pool of 61 white people and 35 Black people became 36 white people and just 5 Black people, with many of them also being stricken from the jury pool.
Wow. So, Alicia, we're talking about this election year and why it's so important that people register to vote and that people get registered and to vote in this year. The primaries are starting to heat up now, and also the general election. So we were talking to Coy about, getting involved in doing her due diligence, especially in her stories. And so she's talking about, this is why you need to vote in local elections. This is why you need to vote in local elections, because 9 times out of 10, we are voting for the district attorneys.
Yeah.
And this is the guy who struck, as Coy said, who eliminated Black people from the jury of a Black man, a jury of his peers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is who was elected.
Yeah. Yeah. Voting down ballot is very important.
Yep.
We can't just wait till it comes down to the 2 people who are running for president.
Exactly.
Because it's what happens to you locally is as important as what happens to you nationally.
All your day-to-day stuff is really at the as you say, down the ballot. It's toward the bottom of the ballot. Those are the things that affect you day to day.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't realize, especially with district attorneys, is that a lot of them will take on certain cases and make examples out of certain people just to build credibility.
Yeah.
So this is when we start seeing these wrongful convictions happen to innocent people, because they want to be seen as somebody that is stern and upholds the law. Right. Yeah. So they can be voted again, and they can get favor with other attorneys and judges throughout the state court system, basically.
That's their resume. And so, this is what we're doing for the people.
And it's tainted because we see these people run on, I'm going to get this person put in jail. That's what happened to Bill Cosby in Pennsylvania.
Right.
The new DA was like, I'm going to get him, regardless of whether or not I'm doing something illegal to do it. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's why it was overturned.
Unpopular opinion, the same thing is happening to Young Thug right now in YSL. There are a lot of different charges that are being likened to these persons that are in this music group, but there isn't exactly evidence that is pointing into crimes. Mm-hmm. It's just guilt by association at this point. Yeah.
Right. And it's not just Atlanta, it's not just Philadelphia, it's not just Chicago or Los Angeles. It's happening, as you see, in Mississippi and in Georgia, in other districts in Georgia. it really does make a difference.
It does. And just to finish this story, the U.S. District Attorney, I apologize, the U.S. District Judge Mills now has 6 months to retry Pritchford, or he must be released from custody. And until then, he remains on death row.
And so when you say 6 months, 6 months from this January, so we're looking at July maybe.
Yes.
So let's try to find out the date and follow up on this case and see what happens come the end of June or July, or at least follow up and see, even before then, if he does, schedule him for a new trial.
Right.
That is crazy. That is just
Isn't it?
absolutely. And it's like something like out of one of those old southern town movies where a black man is on trial, like a Time to Kill was a reference to that, but others that have come before that.
Yeah, Mississippi
Right.
Burning, all of those.
Yeah.
Yep.
I saw a similar case a couple of years ago, within the last couple of years, on a documentary concerning some gentleman in Texas. And the one person was driving. He didn't know that his passenger was going to get out, have an argument, and shoot this man dead in the driveway. And that's what happened. And he ended up getting tried and sentenced to death row.
Yep.
And I thought that was unfair because he had no clue.
Highly unfair.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a good DA, you may not have a good representation on your side. Your defending attorney, and so you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
You're just screwed.
Right.
One of the other things that we talk about in the newsletter today, a couple of things. First of all, the Israel-Hamas war. And one of the unfortunate things in lining up and being in allegiance with Israel as a result of the attack that took place October 7th by Hamas militants on Israelis. They lost 1,200 people on that October 7th day, and the war was declared that day by the prime minister. And the United States historically has been a friend to Israel. And now the United States is running patrols, and they're guarding ships, and they are knocking down and stopping the drones that are coming through and attacking a lot of the ships in the Red Sea and what have you. And now it's come down to 3 Americans have been killed as a result of a drone attack that took place on a very small outpost. It's called Troop 222, and it is a small outpost on the border between Jordan and Syria. A drone was able to avoid the air defense missiles and loaded with explosives. They came in the middle of the night when the soldiers were sleeping, and they killed 3 people and injured some 30 people or more. These are either Army soldiers or Navy seamen or airmen. I'm sorry, airmen. And so it has come out today that the 3 people they killed are all Black, all from Georgia. Two women, 1 man. The man is also affiliated with the state of New Jersey. But these 2 young women, both in their 20s, I believe one is 23 and one is 24. And this is horrible to say, but I don't know why I had the feeling when they talked about this that they might be Black. And then when I was looking at the names, and I thought, I think they are, and I went and looked them up, and sure enough, the first one, the young woman's name is Kennedy London, was her first and middle name, and she showed a picture of her with her mom. Then they came out with the other 2, and the gentleman is in his 40s, and so the likelihood of him having a family is very good, and they're all reservists.
Wow.
All in the Army Reserves. And I remember last week I was hearing a story about in my home state of Illinois, there was this ceremony in which 300 to 400 of them were going off from the state of Illinois to the Middle East. And I thought, well, how close to the front are they going to get? Maybe, they'll get that kind of And here it is, these Army reservists were right there in the middle of battle, and suffered the greatest losses by. And so the president is saying, we're going to retaliate. Be sure of that, and it'll be a time of our own choosing. But as a woman who these could have been my kids, it's like it's devastating. And I know that that is the truth for the Secretary of Defense, a black man, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who is a black man, the Vice President, who is a black woman, and all of them looking at these kids and saying, what are we going to do? How are we going to respond? Because these could have been our own, and they are our own.
Hmm.
They are our own. It just seems much more personal, and so thank them and their families for their service. But we've all got friends. Coy, your dad was in the military. We've all got friends who have been in the military, or may
Yeah.
still be, children of friends now who are in the military, and this can happen.
And see, and a lot of people they have the false notion
Yeah,
that joining the reserves is a safer option.
right. And that was me too, Coy. I was thinking, well, how bad can it be? Well,
Mm,
we've seen how bad it can be.
right.
We've seen exactly that. So
Mm,
our prayers really to their families, and I pray that they and some of the other injuries were so bad. They said traumatic brain injuries. They had to be medevaced immediately to be treated for this. This is how deadly this drone was. They're packing a lot of bombs, and so there will be an investigation into this, and then there will be the discussion about how to retaliate. But as I said in the article that is going to be in tomorrow's paper, and newsletter, is that we're at war. If you didn't think we were before, I think it's pretty safe to assume that we are in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
Because if Israel's at war, then we are at war because we are with them. If Ukraine is at war, we're at war because the way that we have defended them and supplied them with arms and all of these other things. And so that's the reality. That's the reality. We're not away from this. And as you say, Coy, being in the reserves is not a guarantee that something deadly won't happen as a result of this. So, and normally the Republicans are the ones that are pushing for war, and this is the way historically Republicans have been, and now they're pulling back and like, oh, we're not with you, and we don't want to go to war, because in a lot of ways, uh, this they are the people that are doing this, the Hamas, and this is an Iraqi backed militant group they believe was behind all of this. And that means that they are in cahoots, as my grandmama used to say. They are in partnership with China, with Russia, and with North Korea. And those are the people that Donald Trump likes, and the Republicans want to get Donald Trump's supporters, and so they are against war, and especially if it means upsetting the
for the
Russian.
wrong reasons.
Right. Well, for sure, for sure. But they are looking at, and they're one area of discontent that they are pushing right now as we are in this election year is the border war. And that's the other story I wrote about in terms of the legislation. It's bipartisan legislation that they're working on in the United States Senate, and in order to stop the massive influx of immigrants coming in. 300,000 people crossed over last month.
I'm not surprised.
And they are not staying in Texas because the governor is busing them to the Democratic aligned cities with Democratic mayors, and especially with the Black Democratic mayors in Chicago, in New York, in Washington, D.C., and I could go on and on.
But some of those mayors, like that New York mayor, was like, "Come on, everybody, send them here." I don't
Right.
know why he did
And
that.
that was Eric Adams, and they did. And
And they
now,
did. Then he was like,
you know,
"Whoa, don't send him here."
now
I
their
was like,
resources are blown out of the water.
"Yeah, New York didn't have that many resources for the citizens."
They
Right.
were staying. Now they have them apparently staying in schools. They were telling the citizens to open up your homes, and it's a very difficult
But
process for the immigrants
the
too.
people haven't been vetted yet. You can't just open up your home.
And
Exactly.
that's what they're saying. And one suburban Chicago mayor said, you want us to have them, then here's a list of people and we'll put you together with some of the families that have come to our town. Nobody signed up.
There's no money. There's no funding.
There's no money, there's no funding, and the money and funding that they were depending on, they were hoping to get from the federal government, and now they can't get that. So,
And then the immigrants are, once they're there, they have to complete their process of whatever type of paperwork that they need to acquire.
right,
They have to do it
whether
there.
it's
If they go
asylum or
somewhere else,
whatever,
they have to
yeah.
start all over.
So those are the kinds of things that we talk about in the newsletter. So once again, SybilWilkes.com if you'd like to sign up and subscribe to the newsletter. We'd love to have you. Let's move to the "What's Really Going On" segment. And Alicia, I follow you, and a lot of the things that you say and do as a comedian about your fellow comedians, I think is very funny. Even you sitting in bed and just scrolling through social media and your commentary. But your boy Cat Williams is still in the news.
Okay.
And I wanted to give you a chance to weigh in after your recent post that Cat is a genius.
Yes.
What
Yes.
does that mean?
Yeah, Cat. I mean, they said he was his testing and his IQ is very
Right,
high. And I can
right.
see that because he thinks of things that he goes places that the average person doesn't even think to go.
Mhm.
And I told the story on my social media about how I had a friend who was his personal assistant right when he was starting to get and he's the cat is always 2 steps ahead of you. That's what
Mhm.
he's almost like a cat. He's always steps ahead of you. And so she has this cell phone. This was before there was unlimited plans. So everything, one call was expensive to make. So because every minute was tallied up, and so she gave him her phone, and he was using it because his credit wasn't good enough to get his own. And so when she gets the bill, it's $4,000.
Oof.
And so she's just his assistant. So she's like, okay, you have to pay your bill, $4,000, blah, 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 blah. And so he doesn't pay.
Right.
She ends up quitting, and then she takes him to court, and he shows up in court, and she's thinking she's going to win this thing. It's guys, open and shut. Here's the bill. You had the phone. So Cat goes up and says, "Your Honor, I just want to say that while she was working for me, she was simultaneously collecting unemployment, and that is illegal." So the judge banged his gavel case dismissed.
Right.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Isn't that awful? Isn't that awful?
2 steps ahead.
I'm telling you. So, and a lot of people are still talking about some of the revelations that have come out about this.
Yes.
One is that he said that Earthquake is illiterate.
Yes.
Another is, how much money did Shannon Sharp make from this interview? Right.
I'm tallying it up with my nose itself, and I'm at $1 million right now.
That's what I am at too.
Yeah.
The full interview is, as last check, is about 55 million. When you watch this or you hear this, it'll be more. And for context, the second most watched Club Shay, which I hate that name, I can't say it enough. Club Shay interview is Steve Harvey's interview from last year with 10 million views. None of the numerous celebrity interviews in the history of the podcast have ever come close to 55 million views.
Right.
I mean, first of all, this man should get a development deal. Hollywood should be knocking at his door right now. If you can command 55 million eyeballs across the globe, your phone needs to be ringing. Every offer in the world should be made, because to me, he seems like money in the bank. He's that interesting to listen to, even though some of the stuff was so wild. But people like wild stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, he blew the roof up. And see, Shannon, another place where he's going to get that money is when anybody wants to use it, they have to license it from him.
And that is it. So they have the full interview, then they cut it up into pieces.
The 26 smaller interviews,
and then they're
going to license it at $250,000 a So that's how he's getting to $1 million easily.
So YouTube calculates payments by the RPM, or revenue per 1,000 views, and it takes about 55% of the money from advertisers and 45% goes to the creator. That would be Club Shay Shay.
Yeah.
Figure that comes out to about 10 to 12 per 1,000 views in Shannon's hands.
Yeah.
Given that, the figure then he netted is about $660,000 for the main interview. And then, as we said, Alicia, he and his team did what they do. They split up the interview into separate clips that are also monetized. And the Cat Williams interview is almost 3 hours long. It's split up into 37 separate clips, each of which is between hundreds and hundreds of thousands of millions of views.
Yeah.
The clips of the interview's first 35 minutes, when Williams caught Sharp off guard by going thermonuclear, has nearly 8 million views. And that alone, giving the videos outside of the full Williams interview, will get him about between 90,000 and 100,000 if no one else watches it ever again. He's on track right now, as you said, Alicia, for $1 million from the Cat Williams interview. And of course, he needs to pay out his production team and then all the other things that go. But is Cat going to get any of this, do you think?
Probably not. But see, the thing about Cat, and that's what came out in the interview, is he's used to giving money away anyway.
Right.
You know, I've seen him walk up and give comics money. So that's his gift to Shannon. That's how I looked at it.
Got it.
As he's not, if Shannon offered him, some people are like, no, thank you. That's for you, brother. He wouldn't even want any of it. But my thing is, I did a Pierre video for Pierre's podcast. Called Pierre's Panic Room. I did it like a month, maybe even 2 months prior to this Shay Shay interview, and I was letting comics have it too. Now watch, when Pierre finally releases mine, everybody's like, "Oh, everybody trying to do like Pierre."
Right.
I want to say mine was already created, produced, taped, and in the can before Club Shay Shay.
Right. And that's the truth. But this is the one that that will be the template for other people to follow. But you were
because they were probably expecting like a bunch of Cat Williams jokes. Like, we all know Cat Williams is really, really funny. So I think this is like one of the first times that we actually got to sit down and listen to how he thinks and how he views the world and his experiences just outside of the, the bits and sprinkles that we saw in between his comedy,
Yeah. And Cat Williams is certified funny. He is the only comedian where I've never heard anybody say or type, I don't think he's funny.
Right.
I've heard that about every comic he talked about, but I've never heard that about him.
Right. Now, what do you think about Dave Chappelle saying he didn't like the way that he was going in on fellow Black comedians? Do you think?
Well, I didn't agree with that, because he would have gone in on white comedians if he was in their circuit.
Well, he talked about, how like the redneck comedy tour, those comedians on that tour, what brilliant comedians they were, and he, followed them and learned so much from them. And Chappelle's like, what's up with that? Why not, go in?
Well, the comments that he talked about, for the most part, he had an issue with.
One reason he did talk about some white comics as well.
And he talked about Gary Owen. He mentioned him.
Oh, he
said
did.
Gary Owen.
And I don't count Gary as a white comedian.
yeah, true. And he talked about Joe Rogan. He said Joe Rogan would never have him on the show because he got 6 unfunny white boys with him everywhere.
But everybody thinks on Joe Rogan.
He spares no one. Your race is not going to be a reason that he spares you. He spares no one.
That's true. That's very true. Are you surprised that his money is going to increase as a result of this? I know people that tried to get him before this, and they were like, maybe we can work something out. And now his money is off the charts.
It's like when Chris Rock got slapped, his tickets immediately went up.
Yep.
So Cat's tickets, I'm trying. I'm gonna have to cuss a few people out so my ticket sales can go up.
and get Pierre to send that podcast, put that podcast back out there.
True.
Have him bleep out all the curse words and make it more interesting.
Make it seem worse than it is.
Yeah. She wasn't even cursing then, just bleep it anyway.
Exactly right.
Just put a whole bunch of bleeps in a row.
Have you ever been on one of Cat's tours?
I have not. I've always wanted to be on one of Cat's tours, but I have not. I don't even have Cat exposure like that.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
and
when
that
these
was what was
guys
so
get to
funny.
that
You were
level,
talking about Kevin Hart, and now he's pulling Kevin Hart's ex-wife onto his
yeah,
next tour. That's going to be.
taking them on tour. I
Mhm.
mean, he's playing chess moves. He's doing chess moves
Right,
now.
and a lot of
So
people are just
you
playing
can't even
checkers.
be mad at him. But when you get to his level, you're not
Mhm.
even exposed to people like that. They're doing these big arenas, and they're just going from arena to arena with security, and they're insulated at that point.
Yeah, yeah, and I understand that he treats people very well on his tour, like private planes, and and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That they're one very merry band of comedians.
Yes, yes. I would love to be a part of that merry band.
Okay, okay.
Anything's possible. He could be watching.
That ragtag band of merry comedians.
Well, I think that it's very interesting, and how people are still kind of defending themselves. Poor Earthquake was on, I think it was on the Breakfast Club, and he was really quite upset about being called illiterate, and having to defend himself, and I can read, I can, it's like, oh man, that's just not a good look. Oh, like,
Yeah. Yeah. That's not even something you want to have to defend yourself about after 14.
right.
The best to say, I can read at this age.
Yeah, oh,
Right,
dang
right,
it.
right. That after the 8th grade, you just forget about it and make enough money to hire somebody to do all your reading for you, I guess. I don't know.
Shoot.
But Earthquake is for me, is one of those really nice guys, and having met these people coming into the studio and stuff over the years,
Yeah.
um, you just hate to see that kind of rancor, if you will, amongst
Yeah.
amongst the comedians. But
Yeah.
what are
Yeah.
you gonna do?
I mean, it's very, comics usually don't go public with their feelings about other
Right.
comics. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is this is new. He's reached some new territory.
Or stealing jokes, or that's usually something they talk about young comedians, and
Yeah.
I remember Red Fox used to do it about younger comedians, and then they would, I remember seeing a special, they had Red Fox do his bit, and they had who is now a prominent comedian, do the same Red Fox bit word for word for word. It was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's how they start, that's how they, I'm not saying that's right,
Right.
but
Yeah.
especially like on Instagram comedians, they got about that much comedy to present. And Alicia, and and then you're like, well, that's my time. It's like 5 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah, but see, like somebody said, this is a year of a reckoning, or we're in a day of a reckoning.
Uh-huh.
And it is a reckoning because with social media, you should know you can steal somebody's jokes,
Right.
but they're going to find out.
Yep.
And then some people are going to split screen them doing it and you doing it. So go ahead and figure out to yourself if it's worth it to steal that joke, because you're going to get
Exactly.
caught.
Exactly.
One guy
And
stole a
and
joke of mine, and I found out because the Laugh Factory records
uh-huh.
and then the Laugh Factory releases. So back in the day, you could steal somebody's joke, and if they weren't in the room, they wouldn't know. I'm just so happy to flick through some of the Laugh Factory videos and hear
Uh-huh.
the whole thing come out of his mouth because they recorded it and they put it up. And I was like, and I called him. But it's like you can't get away with it nowadays.
Alicia, he didn't start out saying it's really hard being a black woman out here. What did he say when you called him, Alicia?
Well, he apologized because I had to position it like I
Yeah.
put you on my show. You told me you had just moved here and nobody was looking out for you, and you're behind on your child support, and I put you on my show.
Wow.
And then for you to then take what you heard and take it to the Laugh Factory, but he apologized. He apologized.
Wow. But good for you for calling him out, and making him respond to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and he was man enough to apologize. That's cool. Well, I don't think this is going to be the end of Club Shay Shay getting those volatile and view worthy guests.
I think he's
Like,
going to book all the people that were talked about and let them rebut.
exactly.
Mhm.
That's what I thought too. That his producer is going to be very busy booking all of those people. People like Say's like, man, forget that. But there are going to be others who are going to want to respond. And
Yeah,
for sure, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, even with Steve Harvey, he got 10 million views. So, That's not chopped liver either.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
See, Steve went global when he announced the wrong Miss America or whatever that
Right.
pageant was.
Yeah.
People knew him in the
Oof.
Philippines and everybody. That's when he
Yep.
went global. He went international off that pageant. So
Yep.
I can see him getting 10 million.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was over the Christmas holidays and New Year's. No news being made. That was just yeah, for sure.
Perfect timing.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, so let's move to trending news. And Alicia, you have a lot going on. You told me just before we started that you're going to be directing your last short movie. Now you are a director. Are you still in training?
No, I'm not in training. I'm just trying to get some paid gigs.
Okay, okay, okay.
So I'm
So tell us
entering these
about this short.
programs and I hope to get some paid gigs. So this fourth short is going to be really funny. It's going to be like 12 minutes, 14 minutes with credits. And I'm going to put this is the first one where I'm using recognizable faces. The
Okay,
other three, they were just great projects. But this one, I'm going for my good friends who are just good at what they do. I have Dominique Whitney, Flame Monroe, Michael Collier, Rail Battle, Ben Morrison. And I'm hoping for
glad
a
you couldn't
Dan
get any
White.
big names.
Huh? Yeah,
Yeah,
these
yeah.
are big names with big resumes, and I'm hoping that Kim Whitley can make a cameo, but she might be in Big Bear at a friend's party at the time, so she might not be available. But I just need one name. George Wallace would have done it for me if he was in town.
Well,
So, yeah,
George could be there like that.
if
He's
I,
in Australia one day, and then the next day he's in Atlanta. It's like,
yeah, I'm trying to talk them into it. So, but yeah, so my celebrity friends that have long resumes are in this one, and it's a comedy called We Got Ours, and it's going to be hilarious.
well, let us know as soon as it comes out, and we want to promote that for you as well.
Thank you.
And you got some comedy dates.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be at the DC Comedy Loft. I think it's March 15th, 16th, and 17th.
Uh huh.
I'm going to be headlining the DC Comedy Loft, and that's the show that I'm really pushing right now because I
Okay.
need to sell those 5 shows out.
Okay. All right. So March.
Yeah, and if you're not in DC, get there.
Okay. DMV. You can roll up in there. Absolutely. Absolutely. Coy, what do you got going on?
Still waiting on details for the play that I was casted in.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a lead
Ooh,
in this play. I'm going to be
congratulations,
playing
Lee.
thank you. I'm going to be playing a crazy girlfriend. So if anybody has any movie references for me to watch so I can channel a crazy character for character
Why don't I
reference.
feel you have to go very far for that?
I probably don't. I probably don't. I've never been a crazy girlfriend.
In
I
play.
wanted to be in real life.
Okay. Okay.
I
All
wanted
right.
to be. I think
Okay.
I don't know. I might have gotten close.
Well, I've got some crazy girlfriend stories, not from my own, but from my crazy girlfriend, so I can point them in your direction.
Well, you know who was crazy on camera was Tasha Smith and what was that? What's that? The Tyler Perry movie.
Yeah. Is it Why Did I Get Married?
Why Did I
I
Get
think
Married?
so. Yeah.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
crazy in that.
Yep. And in the TV show too. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Check this out. The Florida House of Representatives has approved a bill to ban social media for kids under the age of 16. This
Yeah.
could be the strictest regulation on social media and children in the country. It is Florida House Bill number 1 would prohibit children under the age of 16 from using most social media platforms, regardless of whether they get parental approval or not. So they're going over the parents and saying,
But see, now they're contradicting themselves
right,
because Florida is the one state that's always like parental rights. Parents should decide if their kids go see Drag Queen Story Hour at the library.
yeah,
Parents should decide what books their kids read. So why can't parents decide what social media platforms their kids are on?
that is the crazy thing. It will target any site that tracks user activity, allows children to upload content, or uses addictive features designed to cause compulsive use.
Yeah,
That's
I think 16 is too old. Like I can even get with that up until 10.
hmm
But after that, they should be able to start using their critical thinking skills and making decisions. And even then, parents can say, yes, you can get on this, but no, you can't get on that. But
They're not
16,
though.
they having sex, they drinking, smoking, all kinds of stuff by 16.
Yep.
They got guns.
They're doing it all.
Kids.
Yeah,
kids. They got grandkids by the time they 16.
I'm like, what?
So check this out. The House passed the bill by a vote of 106 to 13, with Democrats joining the chamber's Republican majority in support of the bill. I'm really surprised at that. That sounds like a Rick DeSantis type bill that Democrats would fight against. But
Yeah.
it now hits the Republican controlled Senate for consideration. And one Republican state representative, Fiona McFarland, described social media as digital fentanyl for kids when promoting the bill on the House floor. There's nothing like causing some kind of alarm and falsely, hyping than comparing social media to fentanyl.
Yeah, but I do understand like the need to kind of control access for teenagers. I would say that just because of the following that I have and certain things that I see from young children that should obviously be in school. They get themselves in different situations where they're, trying to go viral. So they're posting all kinds of things for likes and attention. I just found out about something new. It's new to me, might not be new, that people are doing called doxing, when
Yeah.
if there's something that happens that you say online, now next thing you know, somebody is posting all of your information for others to come and show up at your house, your job, call your phone, and what have you. And these are young kids that are doing this in high school, and they're not realizing the consequences behind doing this. And then, social media bullying. And then we've had other stories in the What You Need to
Bullying is
Know
really bad.
newsletter
Huge.
about
Yeah.
children committing suicide
Yeah.
because of online bullying, which also happened inside the classroom. So I do feel that there is some type of need for monitoring for social media for younger people. I don't know if taking it away all the way is going to be, but something needs to happen.
But how do you enforce that though? Because I mean, you're not in their homes.
Well,
You
that's
know,
the next thing. Next
yeah,
thing, they're going to have
and that's
some
only
sort of,
one state. So then they move to the next state and they good again. Like
I
you would
guess.
need all 50 states to join together before it would even really be effective. Because they
But
can just
look at what this country has done, and look at what states like Florida have done regarding women's rights in their bodies, regarding books on shelves, regarding classroom activities
Black
and
history.
Black history. All of these things are meant to constrain
right.
activity and free thought, as well as
But
free
16 is too late. You're 14 in high school. You know what I'm
right.
saying? I don't know. I think they're overstepping.
Well, this might be the line. This may be the tipping point.
Mhm.
But Florida has, under the leadership of their current governor, they've taken everything way too far.
Yeah, but they don't care about school shooting though. This is
No,
what they're
oh no,
concerned
no, because you got to have your guns. You got to have your guns. Just like the kid that's on trial in Michigan, with his own parents are also being tried for shooting during a school day. It's crazy, but I do agree with
But
you.
I blame the parents though, because this has gotten so out of hand because they don't have it. They're using these phones as babysitters. One
Yeah.
thing I liked about what Angela Bassett and Courtney Vance did
Hmm.
with their kids, they made them put their phones on their dresser by a certain time each night. They don't get to
Yeah.
lay in the bed with the light in their face 2 a.m.
Right.
texting. Every night by I think it was 8 p.m. They had to put the
And
phones on
shut
their
it off.
dresser.
Yeah.
Yeah, cut it off and to put it on this dresser. That's parenting. And
That's
if more people did things like that, we wouldn't have the instances that we have of suicide, bullying, doxing, all this stuff, because your phone is on my dresser.
Right.
You can't get to it. You can't
We
get
all
to it.
probably need to do that and put our phone on the dresser at 8
That's
o'clock.
we need to parent ourselves
I need to
regarding that.
parent myself
For
bad.
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Because I
Yeah,
find
we all
myself
should put the phone on the dresser by 8 o'clock.
waking up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I just go to my phone. First I go to my phone to see what time it is. Then I say, "Oh, I have a message," and then I just spiral down that internet,
Yeah.
hole. And the next
Yeah.
thing you know,
And we get anxious. I need some anxiety medication right now because I don't put my phone on the dresser by 8 o'clock.
right?
I like
Right.
to think that a lot of forms of ADHD these days are caused digitally. Like there
Yes.
should be a different sector of health
Yeah.
that diagnoses digital
Yeah.
ADHD. It's gotta be.
Gotta be.
It is
Mhm.
it's ridiculous, and we're not helping, each other by, like, "Oh, I text you." And it's like,
Mm.
and for people to say, "Well, I don't use my phone after 8 o'clock at night." I was like, where they do that at, except at the Bassett household, or it's like, it, I don't know. I wish that they could come to some sort of compromise in this, because 16 is, as you say, is too old, and 10, and even at age 10, it might be too late.
Yeah.
Because, and the reason why I say that is because I saw a story not too long ago about all of the 10-year-old girls that were swarming into Sephora stores, the makeup stores, over the Christmas holidays. And that's because companies have figured out a way to get little girls to buy makeup. And
Mhm.
they have stars or social media celebrities, and showing them how, with tutorials on how to put on makeup and where to get it. And one of these places was Sephora or a store
Again,
like that. And
again, lack of parenting, because I don't care what Sephora selling. My mama wouldn't let it go in her house.
Hell no.
You know what I'm saying? Sephora ain't raising you.
Right.
We need more daddies to step up and say, my daughter not looking like a little Lolita.
Right.
So we need the parents to step up, because a lot of this stuff is being dropped. The balls are being dropped in the home.
And to your point, they interviewed some of the parents that were with the kids, and one of the ladies said, "I'm just the nanny. I was told to bring the kid here, and that's why we're here."
I'm just a nanny. You need to learn how to say no, nanny.
No.
Kids
no,
love the
nanny.
nanny sometimes.
I'm the no saying nanny.
Supposed to be the parent while I'm away.
Okay, no, the parents told them, take the kid, wants to go get makeup. So here you
I
go.
want to know how that conversation went down.
A friend of mine is a substitute teacher, and she
Uh-huh.
told me years ago they can't even teach because these kids had the phones in their hand in class and all kinds of stuff. This phone is become the devil.
Yeah.
Nothing good happened ever since kids got phones in their hands.
All right, that's true. And as far as doxing, Coy, that's what happened with the Donald Trump supporters who, would phone in the judges and the members of the courts where Donald Trump was on trial, and then they would have the swatting would occur, and police and all of those would come and swarm the homes of the judges and the other members of the court. And that's what they do. That doxing is a big thing for them right now.
But we haven't seen anything yet, and they do need to do something, because now with the kids and this AI, they what they do with Taylor Swift, sent out news that wasn't even her.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna start sending out news of their classmates. It's not even them,
and they're doing that.
They're
doing that. Yep, they're absolutely doing that. Yep.
So
Super Bowl 58 is set. Kansas City.
Woo!
Who you got?
I like San Francisco. I like that comeback that they had the other day.
That was tremendous, and I was excited for Detroit. I was so excited Detroit got this, and they really were the Cinderella story of the season.
Yeah.
Coming back after decades and decades of losses, and this was really their year. And I don't watch NFL football anymore, but just hearing the story about the Lions coming back. But the Chiefs made their way back to the Super Bowl, taking their game on the road against the Baltimore Ravens. And I love Lamar Jackson. I don't know I know that he's a good football player, but not having watched the game. But I do know that he just is such a really good guy. And I wanted to see him win, even as much as my family from Kansas City would never allow me to cheer for the Ravens. But I just like Lamar Jackson, and just a really good kid. And this was his year. It really was. But so you're going with San Francisco. I'll take that bet, and I'll go with Kansas City.
I'm going with 7. Okay, we're gonna do it. But y'all know the halftime show is Usher.
Yes,
and he got it because Lizzo got fired.
Yeah.
Right. Oof.
Right.
That was rough.
There's that. And Andre Day is singing the Black National Anthem, the Negro National Anthem.
That's 18 minutes long.
Well, I don't know, with Reba singing and Post Malone singing as well, and then Andre, they might be doing the Yolanda Starks "Wrap It Up" sign before you know it. So, Coy, who do you have?
You know what? I don't know. It's a toss up because I have a cousin that played for Kansas City Chiefs back in the day when they won, like in 68, 69.
Oh, wow.
Morris Stroud. So I kind of like, I don't know if I go by that because the family association or, do I go with the 49ers because they're California? But that's a different side of California. I'm from Southern. That's Northern. Two different states, in my opinion.
Right.
So, I don't know,
George Wallace is going for the 49ers, and his nephew played for them back in the Dark Ages. And I do mean the Dark Ages for George Wallace and his family. But he's still pulling for the 49ers. I think his nephew's name was Steve Wallace. And I don't think Steve Wallace has played for the 49ers for 50 years. But, George is like, go 49ers. Yes. It was like, okay.
Yes,
All
I'm
right.
going with George and the 49ers.
Yep. All
I'm
right.
going for a good game. A good game in the Usher
I wish
concert.
my Washington Commanders was there, but we're not there yet.
You definitely not. You guys are right there with our Chicago Bears. You're definitely not there
Oh,
yet.
and there with my now Las Vegas Raiders. So
Yep.
But
But Atlanta got a black coach, Coy. How about that?
we do, but that's not my team. But I hope they do better this year.
Yep.
You let the Falcons let you down one time, you learn.
For the
And
first
I learned.
time, they got a black coach who, Raheem Morris, I think, is that his name? He's played for them. Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's move to entertainment. Lil Nas X is letting fans into his world. The musician's new HBO documentary, Lil Nas X Long Live Montero, was released last weekend, and the film offers a look into his first ever concert tour, as well as insights about his upbringing, his family dynamics, views on religion, and more. So it interviews with his family, Lil Nas, footage of family members, including his father, his stepmother, his brothers, and all of whom talk about watching the performer born Montero Hill go from young child to massive superstar. And among the things that you may not know that you may learn in this documentary, young Montero, before he became a star, he revealed when he was a kid he wanted to be a surgeon. I wanted to be a cardiovascular surgeon because my grandma and a lot of family members had heart problems. However, once he began college, he said his thoughts, he got bored, his thoughts changed, and he made a song for fun and immediately posted on Twitter, got a lot of response and said, okay, enough of the cardiovascular search, and let's go with entertainment. And so he said, I'm just going to take this semester off and see what I can do with this music thing. And Montero became Lil Nas X.
Wow. I'm going to watch that documentary.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
I bet it is.
It's going to be.
We're going to close out with today's jewel. Yogi's jewel: be intentional about doing the things that you need to do to live the life you want. Be intentional about the things you need to do to live the life you want. So go out there and be intentional. Young Alicia, young Coy, thank you so much. And Alicia, I'm not sure what our bet is going to be, but we'll work on something.
Yeah, we got to come up with something good.
Because time join a cruise.
You in Texas?
Yeah.
You're in Texas and I'm in LA? Okay. We got to come up with something good.
Okay, we will. And we'll announce it here.
We'll announce it here.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much. Have a great time on the road there, Alicia and Coy. We'll see you next week. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us.